Hands together for Tony Keene!
Thank you very much. So this is my first day out of self-isolation. Wasn't COVID, I'm just very antisocial. No, it was COVID. So at some point, I'd imagine the brain fog is going to catch up. So if you see me like chewing eucalyptus leaves and hanging in a branch somewhere just doing this, someone give me a prompt. Cheers. So my name's Tony, and I'm a lecturer at UCD, and I do chemistry. So, thank you very much. That is more feedback than I've received from my students this year. So, as the job title kind of suggests, I do a bit of the chemistry from time to time. And if you think about your standard sort of chemistry lab, there's tons of ways in which you can cause yourself an accident. We have got flammable solvents, we've got explosive materials, high pressures, high temperatures, high voltages. We have some insanely toxic compounds. And as if that wasn't enough, we also have, on occasion, ionizing radiation. So, the fact that I'm actually here this evening talking to you lot, and that my group's at the back and some of their friends as well, does imply we work fairly safely most of the time. So the reason for that is it's not just the coming home to your family and your friends and, you know, all these heartwarming things. It's just that if there's anything more traumatic than dealing with an accident in the laboratory, it's dealing with our safety office. And what were you wearing at the time of the accident? So we do an awful lot of sort of health and safety activities around what we do. So a lot of it's sort of fairly tedious paperwork, risk assessments, standard operating procedures, that sort of thing. And then the other part of it is the safety training itself. And the safety training can sometimes be a bit more fun than it sounds. But what if, in the whole of a 20-year chemistry career, it was the health and safety training was the one thing that landed you in hospital? So going back to my first year as a PhD student in a different university that's going to remain nameless for the sake of getting sued by them, we had to do fire safety training because you can't do any lab work until you've done your fire safety training, because chances are at some point in your career you're going to have to put a fire out. So this starts off, we're all in a lecture hall and they're giving us the theory of fire and how you fight it. So we get to do things like looking at sort of how combustion starts, the fire triangle, so source of fuel, source of heat and an ignition, and source of oxygen. If you start cutting bits of that out, you can start fighting fires. And then we also got to learn some other quite interesting things as well. So what do you do if somebody's caught themselves on fire in the lab? Do you just go over and go, Jeff, mate, can you do something about this? It's just not acceptable. No, of course not. You go and get a fire extinguisher, right? But do you just put them out? No. What you do is you pick up the fire extinguisher by the handle, you grab it by the base, you hold it sideways, and you twat them as hard as you can. It's their fault they're on fire. So, and the idea is, right, if you're standing up, you're breathing in all these flames and everything. But if you're lying down, they're moving away from your face and you don't look quite so crispy at the end of it. And then you put them out. So lots of interesting little odds and ends like that. But of course, really what it is I want to do, it's not the sort of the written work, although I'm supposed to be excited about that because I'm an academic. No, it's the actual getting and playing with the fire extinguishers. So after lunch, we all decamp to an abandoned corner of an abandoned university playing field off campus somewhere. And in this like gravelly, weedy hellhole, the safety office guys are putting out the stuff for the session. There's these big metal trays full of oily liquids. There's these gas burners, you know, they can turn up into huge infernos and everything. And then there's a chip pan, just in case you have to do a bit at home as well. And then, on the side, we've got the 5 food groups of fire extinguishers, standing there like a multicoloured batch of Daleks just waiting to go. So the 5 major groups we've got are fire blanket. Kind of good if someone's on fire, you can give them a hug. You know, just wrap the blanket around them, they're fine. And then we've got your water extinguisher, functionally useless unless it's a paper fire. Then foam extinguishers, brilliant fun when there's a big pool of solvent spreading across the floor and it's all on fire. Then powder extinguishers. These are, without a doubt, the finest thing for destroying optical equipment in the laboratory. That dust gets everywhere. You will be scrubbing it out of every crevice of your body for the next month. And then the real workhorse of lab firefighting, the CO2 extinguisher. Much beloved of Brainiac and Top Gear and all that sort of thing. And these are the small ones, but they are noisy. So there they are, all ready to go. The safety guy's like, all right then, who wants to go first? And considering this is a massively important part of our jobs, being able to work safely, fight fires, look fairly good doing it, hopefully, nobody volunteered. Seriously? Okay. So, of course, I forgot the first rule of everything, which is do not volunteer for anything. Me, sir, me, sir, me, sir. So he's like, all right then, come on then. You can have a go on the CO2 extinguisher. Brilliant fun. The really noisy one first. So he lights off this pan of oil. Huge orange flames, billowing oily black smoke, and a wave of heat, which is always way hotter than you think it's going to be. And there's me and my little friend, the extinguisher. So I use it in the approved manner. Grab it by the handles underneath, pull the nozzle up, pull the pin, keep the pin, they're a nice little keepsake. Grab it by the base, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the handles, and huge noise. Huge noise, big piles of white gas coming out, bits of dry ice flying everywhere, and the fire goes out in about 3 seconds flat. Brilliant fun. So, feeling rather smug about this, put the extinguisher down and walk off. Except I can't. I can't let go of the extinguisher. Let's try putting it down again. Donk. No, it's still there, glued to my hand. And as I look down, I can see this big white frost on the back of my hand, and I think something has gone very wrong here. And it turns out, the fire extinguisher they'd given us was, shall we say, time expired, and that's why we're allowed to play with them. And when I'd pulled the handles, the liquid CO2 comes from the inside of the extinguisher, up a little pipe, goes into the big nozzle, expands into a cold gas, puts the fire out. Except in this one, there was a little crack in that pipe. So when I squeezed the handles, yeah, brilliant for putting the fire out, but it was spraying liquid CO2 over the back of my hand. And of course, CO2 doesn't like to be a liquid. It wants to be a solid or a gas, and half did each. So I ended up with this big pile of dry ice on the back of my hand, which, in the time it takes to describe all of this, has now evaporated at least. And now I can move my hand again. It feels okay. A bit numb, but it's all right. Safety office guy walks over and is like, oh yeah, mate, yeah. Someone said there was something up with that one. Yeah, thanks, chum. Cheers for that. So that all went grand. We finished off the training, got home, was like, yeah, it was great fun. Yeah, put out loads of fires. I'm really good, mate, yeah. Went to bed. Woke up the next morning, something was not right. Something felt wrong. And I looked at the back of my hand, and it looked like I had been fisting a wasp nest. Huge blisters, like a packet of very off sausages. Oh dear. So I very gently wrap it in a little bit of bandage I've got and decide to get myself down to the GP surgery. So I get down there, it's like, hello, I think I've had a bit of an accident with a fire extinguisher. I think I burnt my hand. Okay, we'll just have a look at, oh God! She wraps it back up. You're going to have to go down to the general hospital, really. So, right, now? Yes, okay. So obviously, it's getting a bit worrying. It's like, all right, fair enough. Get a lift down to the hospital. Triage nurse is there. It's like, okay, so what seems to be the matter? I had a bit of an accident with a fire extinguisher. I think I've burnt my hand. Okay, we'll just have a look at that. Oh, we'll get you up to the burns unit. Okay, fair enough. Finally, find myself up in the burns unit. It's like, finally, I'm going to find someone who's not completely horrified by the state of my hand. Along comes this specialist. I'm like, they're going to have seen this before. Okay, so let's just have a look at that. She unwraps it, so, okay, right, very good. I'm just going to go and get some supplies and I'll be back in a moment. It's like, this sounds like calming authority. So she steps out the cubicle, pulls the curtains together, and walks down the corridor. Unfortunately, she hasn't quite pulled the curtains together enough, and through the 2-inch or 5-centimetre gap. I'm from the UK, I have to be bilingual in these things. I can see her walk down the corridor to where the phone is on the wall, bearing in mind this is 2002. Picks up the phone, and in this surprisingly carrying voice I can hear from my cubicle, "Hello there, can I have the London Burns unit, please?" Very urgent, yes, very, very urgent. Yeah, fire extinguisher, cryogenic, yes. Yeah, no, never seen anything like this. Very severe. Maybe 3rd degree, do we have a 4th one? Brilliant. So how do I treat this? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, thanks. Okay, bye. Comes back down the corridor, opens the curtains. Okay, we're going to treat this in the standard manner that we treat burns like this that we see every day here. Every day of the week. You liar. So it turns out the standard treatment for this sort of burn that they've never seen before, but they treat every day, is to take a plastic sandwich bag, a tube of burn cream, squanch it into the bag, massage it around a bit, put it over my blistered and now throbbing hand, tape it round the wrist, and leave me like that for a solid month with my hand in the human equivalent of the cone of shame. So, well, yes, we do work very safely in the laboratory. Every now and again, it is actually the health and safety that puts you into the hospital. Thank you very, very much.